All right. Good morning, everybody. So, we're going into week 6, week 7. You guys got your quizzes back, and um, I made your quiz a little difficult last week because I was asking you guys questions in a way that it would be difficult for you guys to. They weren't straightforward questions. It had to make you think a little bit. So, a lot of you guys lost marks on the multiple choice and the true and false. But the long answers, I made it a little easy, so you guys actually did okay on it. So if you guys got a mark that you're not happy with, just know that it's because you didn't do well on the multiple choice. Okay, I'm going to get into week 6. We're talking about international business practices. So we talked about this last week, so we're going to get into a little bit more about child labor and exploitation. So child labor, like we said, it refers to exploitation of children, right? Like people use children in ways that they're not supposed to be used. Like the kids are not supposed to be doing these type of things, right? So they deprive children of their childhood, interfere with their ability to attend regular school, and is mentally, physically, socially, or morally harmful. This is it's actually even a little painful to even read this, man. That's messed up. Child labor and exploitation are the result of many factors, including poverty, social norms, condoning them, lack of decent work opportunities for adults and adolescents, migration and emergencies, right? So you see a lot of these places in a lot of child labor and exploitation in places um, where there is not like undeveloped countries, underdeveloped countries, third world countries, places where there's a lot of poverty, unstable economies, unstable, corrupt governments. Those are the places where these young kids get taken advantage of because no one's there to protect them. Even in their own parents can't even protect them from getting into child labor because they can't do anything against a corrupt government. So these factors are not only the cause but also a consequence of social inequities reinforced by discrimination. So basically, these kids, they're getting their life. As a kid, all you want to do is just have fun, right? You want to enjoy being a child, being a kid, enjoy learning, you want to be able to learn things in order to become something in the future and give back to the world and the economy and stuff like that. But over here, these kids aren't even allowed to do that. They get the childhood snatched from them. They get their fun snatched away from them. And a lot of them go hungry. A lot of them are overworked. A lot of them die too because of this stuff. And it's not right. And so there's got to be things that people can do to fix it. So talk about different types of child labor. Got child labor in agriculture and armed conflict, guys. Okay, so agriculture, basically you got children working in farms. Like, come on, you got little kids working in farms, picking the corn, picking the produce and all that stuff. Instead of instead of teenagers and adults, these young kids, these 5, 10, 11-year-old kids are doing all this work. It's just so child labor and armed conflict, right? If you guys ever watched Blood Diamonds with Leonardo DiCaprio, you'll know that in Blood Diamonds they used kids, right? Young kids, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids, and armed them with AK-47s and different types of machine guns and stuff. And none of these guys were in the army, not at the army, but their little militia that they had that was killing off all these villages and rampaging through all these villages. And so commercial sexual exploitation of children, child labor and domestic work, migration and child labor, resources on migration and child labor, mining and quarrying. Guys, this is not what children are supposed to be doing, man. Safe work for youth, trafficking in children. There's a special place in hell for people who do this stuff, man, to kids, to young, innocent children. So how do you stop child labor? You gotta have to contact government leaders, right? What happens when your government is corrupt? What do you do after that, right? A lot of these people that have corrupt governments, and these governments don't care because their economy is running off of this child labor. So write letters to head of countries that permit any form of child slavery, forced labor, and ask them to strengthen and enforce their laws to increase educational opportunities for children and humane, sustainable business opportunities for adults, educate others. So these are the little things that people can do in order to try and get this thing to be completed. But if you really want to stop it, there's real ways to stop it, and the U.S. and Canadian Army deals with this a lot, right? So they go into different countries to fight off these militias and these groups and these Taliban people and all these stuff that are trying to overtake the country. They're trying to take control of the country and try to, start child labor and prostitution and all that stuff on these little kids, and they try to run the entire country in a way that obviously it's unethical. So these countries with stable economies and stuff, they send in their armies to go and try and fight. So why is it important to stop child labor? Child labor leads to lower wages and higher unemployment among adults. So if you have so many young kids working, you're gonna have you're gonna not gonna have people who are so the older people are not gonna get jobs, they're not gonna get paid. So when that happens, you have a bunch of older people who are getting their jobs taken by a bunch of young kids. There's gonna be some sort of backlash. There's gonna be some fighting. There's gonna be some sort of the older people now are gonna say, you know what, because you're getting these kids for so much cheaper, you're not gonna pay us. All right, we're gonna start robbing and looting, and we're gonna do all this nonsense, right? So children who work and do not go to school will end up in low-pay jobs. It just makes sense. If you have no education, you don't know anything about, you don't know math, you don't know science, just the basic stuff. You don't know that stuff. You're obviously not going to be able to get into a college or university. If you can't do that, then you're not going to be able to get a job, and you're going to just be ending up poor, right? These kids just continue a poor cycle, and so the vicious cycle of poverty is perpetuated, right? So it just continues and continues and continues, and all these kids, just their families and everyone, all of them, when they have kids, and when those kids have kids, it's all just going to continue. They're all just going to be poor because none of them got a chance to have education. And there's no decent work for adults, right? Like we talked about. Where's child labor most prominent? Okay, so 10 countries um, where child labor is the most prominent, which means child labor is the most high. So you got Eritrea. This is basically Africa and Asia is where this happens the most. So Eritrea, Somalia, Congo, Myanmar, Sudan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Zimbabwe, Yemen. What a fucking... And the worst part is I'm Pakistani, and I look at that and I'm like, this is the reason why Pakistan is where it's at in the world right now. It makes me so angry. These guys are so waste. All the talent in Pakistan runs away from Pakistan because they don't want to stay there. Why would anyone want to stay in a shit country where you have child labor? People are using kids as prostitutes and picking farm and all that stuff. I'd rather see that country burn down to the ground. If you have people who live like that, I don't give a shit about that country. And that's why all the talent in Pakistan, anyone who's anything, moves out of Pakistan. They have to go to Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Germany, U.S. Everyone just leaves. So why are we gonna waste our time and our life here because this corrupt government, this corrupt people, these horrible nonsense people, it's a joke. Okay, so we get into what human rights are. Human rights include the right to life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression, the right to work and education, and many more. Everyone is entitled to these rights without discrimination. So, man, woman, doesn't matter who you are, you have the right to life and liberty, especially here in Canada and the US. You have the right to life and liberty. You have the right to be alive. You have the right to be free from slavery. You're not owned by anybody. No one owns you. If you work at a company, of course, yeah, that company kind of can tell you what to do, where to go, and stuff like that. But you can easily quit and go find another job. No one can hold on to you, right? Freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression, right? You're free to say whatever you want. I mean, to a point, because then you don't want to get any backlash or anything. start a riot or do anything that gets people upset. But you have the freedom of right and expression and the right to work and education, and that's the biggest thing, right? We have women in a few third world countries who are not allowed to get a proper education because their families say, oh no, if you go spend all your time in school, who's gonna want to marry you? I'm like, man, it's just that type of thinking, man. It's the reason why the U.S. and Canada and Europe and all these countries, they run the world. They run the world because they understand this stuff. They understand that, you know, you don't have to sell your daughter to another family just so you can just for your benefit. You don't have to do that. There's other ways, right? So what are the 10 basic human rights that people are that they have the right to have, right? They are born with, right? 10 basic human rights. So basically, all humans are equal and free. No discrimination, right to life, no slavery, no torture, same right to use the law, equal before the law. Everybody, doesn't matter who you are, celebrity, black, white, it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone is equal in front of the law. So if you're a celebrity and you're someone who's just a regular person who just works a 9 to 5 and you both shoot and kill someone, you both are going to get tried the exact same way. No one's going to get any unfair treatment. Okay, everyone's treated equally. Right to be treated fair by court. No unfair detainment, so people can't just the government whatever can't just take you and detain you in a prison or something like that, and you're stuck. Um, that's one of the basic human rights, and then right to trial. A lot of this stuff though is this is what life is supposed to be like, but as we all know, reading in the news and reading and seeing what's going on, this is not true. People get discriminated against. People are still in slavery. People still get tortured, and young kids are treated like dogs, and they're running around and taking care of these grown men, these grown women. They're taking care of their businesses, and not all humans are equal and free, and there's no right to unfair detainment. These people get black people and Latino people in the U.S. 1 out of 3 black and Latino people are in jails in the U.S. So, and a lot of them have been unfairly detained, right? And equal before law? Not really. Not really. All this is bullshit, right? These are the 10 basic human rights that people should have. This is all bullshit if you look at it. Not really everybody is treated the same. Intellectual property rights. Okay, so we just jumped into something a little different, but you have the base. We just talked about we talked about child labor. We talked about human rights. Now, how does this relate to business? Right? So now we're talking about intellectual property rights, right? So what are intellectual property rights? They're rights given to people over creations of their own mind. So if you come up with something that's brand new from your own mind, and you think that you want to protect it and you want to keep it so no one else can use it, then you can get a patent or a trademark, copyright, or trade secret. Okay, so that's basically what intellectual property right is. So it gives the creator an exclusive right over the use of his or her creation for a certain period of time. 4 different types of intellectual property are patent, trademark, copyright, trade secret. Okay, we're gonna get into that. So it's very important that you guys know the differences between this. Okay, so a patent is used to prevent an invention from being created, sold, or used by another party. Okay, so a patent is if you invent something like a product, if you have a patent on it, no one else can replicate it and try to make money off of it without your permission. It's the most common type of intellectual property. A patent owner has every right to commercialize his or her patents, including buying, selling the patent, right? So if you have the patent, you can lease it out to people. You can For example, Google Android. Google Android is Google's, but Samsung uses it. Um, Nokia, I think, is now using Android. OnePlus, um, Nexus, all these guys are all using Android, right? The three different types of patents. Okay, there's three different types of patents you can get. You can get a utility patent, design patent, and a plant patent. Utility patent is if you create or improve a product process, composition of matter, or machine that is useful. Okay, so a utility, basically, for example, if I have let's just say I have a mouse, right? And I create a a way for this mouse to um, for this mouse to automatically connect to my computer every time that I turn it on, instead of me having to, you know, plug it in or do any of the USB stuff. Let's just say if I made something like that, and it was the first time that anyone made anything like that. That's a utility. That's where you would get a utility patent, because you're trying to protect the product that you just built. You didn't really make a new mouse, but you improve the way a mouse works, so you patent that. Design patent. A design patent protects an ornamental design on a useful item. So, design patent, for example, also, if what we're using here, right? We have a what we created was so we got a utility patent on our product, but a design patent is, people can take that idea and they can design it a different way, right? So what you can do is you can get a patent on your own design. So people can't take your design and put it into another product or any of that stuff, right? So whatever you put in here, you get a utility patent, which means that this whole thing is yours, no one can touch it. And then you get a design patent, so the design of it can't be used anywhere else either. People can't use this for different purposes. And the plant is a patent protects new kinds of plants produced by cutting or other non-sexual means. Okay, so basically, it's just about people get patents on plants that they like actual plants, right? That they produce by cutting and all that. So anyways, let's not get too much into that. That's stupid. Trademarks are another familiar type of intellectual property rights protection. A trademark is a distinctive sign which allows consumers to easily identify the goods or services that a company provides. For example, McDonald's golden arch, the Facebook logo, and so on. A trademark can come in the form of a text, a phrase, symbol, sound, smell, or even a color scheme. Unlike patents, a trademark can protect a set or class of products or services instead of just one product or process. Okay, very big difference. Trademark is something that can protect a bunch of assets, okay, a bunch of products that you sell. So, um, like McDonald's, right? The golden arches. No one can go and make something that's similar to, like, no restaurant or whatever can go and make the golden arches, right? You're not allowed to do that because McDonald's already trademarked that. They can sue you. Okay. What else? Um, so if you're thinking about sound, right? You're thinking about sound. Um, uh, you can have. There's so many different businesses that have like jingles and stuff like that, right? Um, let's see. You have, damn. Thinking of a sound right now is it's a little tough, but a phrase. You can think about a phrase, right? You can think about Nike's "Just Do It." You can think about McDonald's "I'm loving it," right? Stuff like that. So those are trademarks. No one else can use that. Okay. So copyright. Copyright does not protect ideas. It only covers tangible forms of creation and original work, for example, so art, music, drawings, and software codes. That's what copyright does. Okay, so copyright takes care of any creation that you make, right? Copyright takes care of that. The copyright owner has the exclusive right to sell, publish, reproduce any literary, musical, dramatic, artistic, or architectural work created by the author. Okay? Okay, trade secrets. Sorry guys, my hair's a freaking mess. It's early in the morning and I up doing these slides for you guys. Okay, trade secrets. Trade secrets are the secrets of a business. They're proprietary systems, formulas, strategies, and or other information that is confidential and is not meant for unauthorized commercial use by others. The trade secret basically is any type of process or idea or stuff that goes on in a business that can be taken and it can be used as to gain a competitive advantage over a different company. Okay, so although intellectual property rights protection may seem to provide a minimum amount of protection, when they are utilized wisely, they can maximize the benefit and value of a creation and enable world-changing technology to be developed, protected, and monetized. Okay, so Google, Amazon, Facebook, all these guys have trade secrets that they keep within themselves, and if anyone tries to take them, they can sue them. And any companies that have these high-end CEOs and CFOs and all that stuff, they have to keep these trade secrets, otherwise they can get sued heavily. Okay, so we finished week 6. We jump into week 7. Week 7 is not that long, so it'll be a little easy for you guys. International business practices. Okay, code of ethics, guys, very easy. Code of ethics is a guide of principles designed to help professionals conduct business honestly and with integrity. Outlines the mission and values of the business or organization. They talk about how professionals are supposed to approach problems, blah blah blah, all that. A code of ethics, also referred to as an ethical code, it may encompass areas such as business ethics, a code of professional practices, and a code and employee code of conduct. Okay. So business of ethics. Business ethics refers to how ethical principles guide a business's operations. Common issues that fall under the umbrella of business ethics include employer-employee relations, discrimination, environmental issues, bribery, insider trading, and social responsibility. So mostly every company you work at is going to have some sort of code of ethics that you need to follow in order to be successful at the company and you just remain at the company, right? Because if you don't follow these code of ethics, they have leverage against you, saying, hey, you know what, you didn't follow the code of ethics, you signed the contract that had all the code of ethics in there, and you didn't follow it. So for that reason, you're fired. And it's really very difficult for you to fight that because it's already in the contract and you broke the contract. Breaking the code of ethics can result in termination or dismissal from an organization. It's important because it clearly lays out the rules and groundworks and behavior and stuff for anything that happens as a preemptive warning. Okay. Compliance-based code of ethics. For all businesses, laws regulate issues such as hiring and safety standards. Compliance-based code of ethics not only sets guidelines for conduct, but also determines penalties for violations. Okay, so compliance-based means so their code of ethics is you have to follow these, and then also if you don't, then you have all these issues you have to deal with. So it clearly states everything in businesses. In some industries, including banking, specific laws govern business conduct. These industries formulate compliance-based code of ethics to enforce laws and regulations. Employees usually undergo formal training to learn the rules of conduct. To ensure that the aims and principles of code of ethics are followed, some companies appoint compliance officers, right? So sometimes you have a compliance officer who goes and checks to make sure to see everyone's following, and if people aren't following, then there's different workers that can go. If someone's not doing something right, these workers can go to the compliance officer and let them know, hey, this is what's happening. This individual is tasked with keeping up to date on changes in regulation codes and monitoring employees' conduct to encourage conformity. Despite strict adherence to law, some compliance-based codes of conduct do not thus promote a climate of responsibility within the company. This type of ethics, okay. So basically, compliance-based code of ethics it sets out rules and guidelines, and also how to follow them, and what happens if you don't follow them. Value-based code of ethics. A value-based code of ethics addresses a company's core value system. It may outline standards of responsible conduct as they relate to the larger public good and the environment. Okay, so basically, You have the compliance base, which is really for the employee to make sure um, how to operate and how to behave with an organization. What would happen if they don't? Value base is basically you're talking about you're really talking about the company as a whole. Okay, the company's core value. Talk about the company's core value, what your company wants, and what your company is looking to get, not just as an individual, but as a company. So, for example, a grocery store chain might create a code of conduct that espouses the company's commitment to health and safety regulations above financial gain. So, you're not really talking about how great your employees are, or what would happen if your employees don't do this, don't do that. No, you're really in value-based code of ethics. You're talking about your company's commitment to health. So if like there's a company that manufactures like oil and gas companies, they could probably say, you know, we're doing this to save the environment and all that stuff. So that's value-based code of ethics. So example of code of ethics in a business. So act with integrity, competence, diligence, respect, and an ethical manner with the public, clients, prospective clients, employees, colleagues, and in the investment profession and other participants in the global capital markets. Place the integrity of the investment profession and the interest of clients. So this is basically what you would find in a code of ethics, right? All these points. So place the integrity of the investment profession and the interests of clients above their own personal interests. So they're basically telling the people, saying, don't give people things that are going to benefit you, give things that are going to benefit them. Use reasonable care and exercise independent professional judgment. Practice and encourage others to practice in a professional manner. Promote the integrity and viability. Maintain and improve the professional competence. So these are points you usually find in a code of ethics in business. Okay. So guys, we're gonna be going live today. I'm gonna be asking you guys questions. A lot of you guys didn't do well on the quiz, so in order to get those bonus marks, you guys really need to work hard because I'll be asking questions. Um, and then assignment due next week worth 10%. Okay, your assignment I will be posting later this week, probably tomorrow or probably Monday. You guys will have an assignment which is due the day of our class. So if I don't have it by then I'm obviously gonna have to give you marks off, and we'll talk more about this in class. All right, thanks a lot, guys. See ya.